Board of Massage Therapists, Julie Endel. Mental Health Trust Authority Board of Trustees, Ken McCarty, John Sturgeon.
Object.
Madam President, I move and ask unanimous consent that the appointees on page 6 be confirmed, with the exception of Vivian Stiver for the Marijuana Control Board and John Sturgeon for the Alaska Mental Health Trust Board of Trustees.
Seeing no objections, so ordered. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam President, I move that Vivian Stiver be approved for the Marijuana Control Board.
Representative Hopkins.
Thank you, Madam President. Appreciate that again. Madam President, in a rhetorical question, would this body vote for an alcohol prohibitionist for the Alcohol Control Board? Not somebody who doesn't drink, but somebody who believes that alcohol should be illegal. Would this body confirm a person who doesn't believe that we should assist victims of violent crimes to the Violent Crimes Compensation Board? Would this body appoint somebody who believes that brushing teeth is a bad idea to the Board of Dental Examiners? Just last year, this body denied the confirmation of an appointee because they thought her previous employment disqualified her from the Direct Entry Midwives Board. Today we have an appointee here who opposes and has a record of opposing this very substance and controlled substance that she is being appointed to control with the Marijuana Control Board. This is a thriving business, an industry that has been positively growing in the last 4 years since the ballot measure went through to legalize cannabis in Alaska. It's been growing. It's been putting people to work that probably wouldn't have had jobs before. These boards are meant to regulate the licensure and how the industry operates, not put the brakes on a growing industry. And that's what this appointee has tried to do in the past. That's what I have grave concerns that she would be attempting to do in the future. She has a strong record of speaking against this industry and speaking against the direction that Alaska and more states across the country have been going. Many in this body may agree with Ms. Stiver on her opinions, and that's absolutely fair. That's not wrong. I spoke earlier in objection to the opinions of the appointee we voted on before, and I spoke in support of. But that does not mean, if we agree with her, that we should be appointing an individual who opposes the very items and the very structure of what she is being appointed to regulate and to work with. We should not appoint a prohibitionist to a board that regulates the legal use of the things she so opposes. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, I ask you to join me and everybody in this body in making sure that a growing industry in Alaska does not have somebody at the front who wants to put the brakes on it, but instead finds a way to work with every side and find a way to make sure that the industry can responsibly grow. Thank you very much, Madam President, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Hopkins. Representative Laban.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to speak in support of Ms. Vivian Stiver for appointment to the public seat on the Marijuana Control Board. I have personally known Ms. Stiver for the better part of 20 years. She has a proven record of community involvement, including service as an elected member of the Fairbanks City Council. She is a successful businesswoman who I had the pleasure to bank during my banking days. She has sound financial ability. She has strong borrower character and was very creditworthy. I rated her borrowing as excellent. Ms. Stiver has made the required effort to educate herself about the marijuana industry and has established an open dialogue with industry business owners. I believe she will carry out her duties as a board member in a fair and balanced manner. As a former public servant, she understands the public process and will give a fair hearing to all sides on any issues that may come before the board. Madam President, I have full and complete confidence that Ms. Stiver will perform her duties as a board member with integrity and in a very professional manner, and I urge all members of both bodies to give your favorable support to her confirmation. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Representative Laban. Senator Reinbold.
Thank you, Madam President and Mr. Speaker. The marijuana industry is a growing industry, as we know, in Alaska. We had this appointee, Vivian Stiver, before Labor and Commerce. I'm Chair of Labor and Commerce. And there are several issues that are unresolved in this industry right now. One, the banking issue. There's conflicts between federal and state law. On-site consumption is a significant issue and immense controversy around edibles and our children. And edible advertising and marketing at bus stops in Anchorage has become a serious problem in some of our districts. In addition to, a newspaper in my area has massive amounts of marketing for this industry, and some parents have raised immense concerns. Because there are unresolved issues in this industry, I think healthy tension is a good thing, and I will be supporting this nominee.
Thank you, Senator Reinbold. Representative Josephson.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, this is sort of I'm going to call it my Nixon in China moment for those who study modern politics. So I voted no on the initiative. I told my voters I intended to vote no. I could not tell them what to do because that's a violation of the law, but they knew. They didn't see it my way. As many of you know, I think the initiative passed, I don't know, if it passed every district, it sure was close. I think the previous speaker makes some decent points, but overall, I think the member from Goldstream carries the day in that it would be, I think, awkward for a member to just be in an entirely adversarial position to the very industry. Now, I'm sure if she's listening, she would say, but that isn't going to be what I'm going to do. But there's sure a belief, and there's sure some evidence of that. And so I'm going to continue to hear the debate, but I'm inclined to agree that while it's important to have some constraints on the industry, of course, people need to be reasonably bought in, or they're the equivalent of the person who won't brush their teeth and wanting to join the dental board, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Josephson. Senator Birch.
Thank you, Madam President. I stand in support of Vivian Stiver. Vivian has a proven track record of engaging on community issues and will bring a community-wide perspective in marijuana regulations. Vivian Stiver has municipal experience and legislative experience as staff. Vivian Stiver is well educated about the marijuana industry. Vivian Stiver is a business-minded and will work with the legislation passed creating regulations which have statutory authority, fair to industry, and fair to the public. Vivian understands the public process and can be trusted to listen fairly to everyone. I would say that we met with Vivian in the office and went through her confirmation hearing, and she has committed to me and others that she will follow the law and regulations, and looks forward to bringing her experience to the board. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Birch. Representative Eastman.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I have never been accused of being a prohibitionist. In fact, when issues concerning the Marijuana Control Board, the marijuana industry have come before us in committee or on the campaign trail or in public venues, I have often and consistently been an advocate for treating the industry equally, fairly, with equity. When there have been unnecessarily burdensome regulations placed on the industry, I have advocated that those regulations be changed and that they be fair. And so it comes as no surprise to me that I was expected to vote no on this appointee. However, Madam President, my vote will today be a yes vote, and I want to explain why. First, having spoken with the appointee concerning my district, concerning the rights of constituents in my district, and concerning each of those who have contacted her for various reasons over the last several months dealing with this industry, with this board, I have found that she was approachable. I have found that she was informed. And I've also found that she is trustworthy to a segment of the population in my district and across the state that might not otherwise be comfortable approaching the board with an issue that I think would be valid. I'll give you one example. Earlier this year, the Marijuana Control Board voted against the interests of some of my constituents to approve a license for a marijuana facility next to a church. The church objected and protested as loudly and vociferously as they could because they didn't want to be next to a marijuana facility. And in fact, according to statute, they have the right not to be placed next to such a facility if within 500 feet, in fact. While the board did verify that the licensee applying for license was within the 500 feet, even so, they voted to approve the license anyways. That was very concerning to me. It was concerning to constituents, and I had an opportunity to chat with Ms. Stiver about that. She was very helpful in providing information that I didn't have access to, and also providing information to those like members of that church who have concerns. In fact, Madam President, I would point out that there were more than 85,000 Alaskans in 2014 who voted against the initiative. Those 85,000, for whatever reason they chose to vote that way, have every right to be full members and full participants in the public process dealing with issues that come before the board. I think Ms. Stiver is, of all the members that I've looked at, the best able to communicate and deal with issues that might come from those or any other members of the public. Certainly, I believe that if Ms. Stiver had been on the board would have asked some of the questions that I think should have been asked before they voted to approve the license next to the church. I will be a yes vote, and I hope that she will be able to better serve the public than not otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Eastman. Senator Coghill.
Thank you. I'm going to speak in support of Vivian Stiver. And surprise, surprise that we might have boards that have different points of view on them. We've been talking about it all day long. And yes, the reason I think Ms. Stiver fits the bill on this is not only has she informed herself on the issue, and yes, she has been an advocate, there's no doubt. Just like with our alcohol board, we have people in advocate arenas that find their way onto the board, but then they have to become subject to the statute and operate accordingly. And I think she has said not only publicly, but she's also taken that to heart in her activism. So I'd say you're going to have a very good voice. But here are some of the background things that I think you need to be aware of. Not only did she work with us when we were here in this body deliberating on what does this initiative mean and how are we going to implement it, and by the way, we could not implement a good statutory rule for them to go by, so the board has had to figure it out in really some big vacuum areas of law. So that's number one. Secondly, she's been on a city council where they've had to wrestle with how do we deal with it in a city, and those rules sometimes were hard to explain both to the board, and it was hard for the board to explain to them. She brings a wealth of knowledge to that arena. She is also a business owner. She has had to deal with public safety issues from parking to alcohol. So she's very well aware of public safety issues. She, as has been spoken, she's very good at business. So she also knows that a business needs to have commerce capacity. So I think that she understands that balance with public safety. So to say that she has been an advocate and therefore she has no place on it, we have had that in fish boards, in game boards, and just name the board. And so advocates find their way into a place like this so that they can keep a rational discussion going within the industry. I actually supported one of the sponsors of that petition to be on the implementation game of the marijuana board. He did well. He's not on the board now. I thought it was important for somebody who was part of the initiative process to get it to land. Some of those places happened well, some didn't. And some of the criticism from Ms. Stiver is going to be very, very valuable to help them, I would say, iron out those wrinkles that are going to cause them to go to court and cause public safety concerns in our communities. So I'm going to speak highly in favor of her. And yes, a critic. But a critic in a board then all of a sudden becomes subject to the law, becomes valuable to the community to argue it, and I think she would be a tremendous asset, and I'd encourage people to vote for her.
Thank you, Senator Coghill. Representative Wool.
Thank you, Madam President. The previous speaker spoke about the alcohol board, and I just want to draw some parallels with that in the marijuana board. They're both 5-member boards. They both regulate a substance that affects your mind and affects your state of mind, I should say. So that's why there's a public safety and a public health seat on those boards. The alcohol board has 2 industry seats, and as myself a member of that industry, I feel comfortable when I have an issue in front of that board that there's 2 people on that board that can relate to my situation in the industry. Now, there's many facets of that industry, and they might not be in the same facet. They might be in a manufacturing position or a package store type situation or anything like that. But at least I know there's 2 people out of 5. It's not a majority, it's a minority that understand the business that I'm in and the issues that I have to deal with. Now, the marijuana board, at its inception, had 2 industry seats. One of them was classified industry/public. And now that seat, what there was an industry seat, is now a non-industry seat. So there's 1 industry seat on the board of 5. If I was in that industry, I'd feel a little insecure about that. And that industry as well has multiple types of licenses and multiple facets. So depending on what type of license I'd have, it's nice to know that there's at least 2 out of 5 that can relate to you and your business. I understand that not everyone voted for the initiative to make it legal, but the majority of the people did. And then Ms. Stiver, who I've known and have a great relationship with, and I've been to her coffee shop in Fairbanks. She used to, I don't think she owns it anymore, but I've been to her business before, and I've had pleasant and many interactions with her. But she started an initiative in Fairbanks in the city to ban marijuana businesses within the city, and it failed. It failed greatly. Not a 48-52, but more like 70-30 or 68-32, somewhere along those lines. So it failed miserably. And when people say, well, the public that didn't vote for it should be represented, but also the public that did vote for it should be represented, and they actually are a greater number. But my stance is that the board, and I believe when a board is composed and certain seats for this and certain seats for that, I mean, you look at the board of game or that we talked about, pretty much everyone there is affiliated with the consumption of game. If you look at the board of fish, there's commercial seats, there's sports seats. They're usually in the industry one way or the other. This, right now, as proposed, has 1 industry seat, which I think is underrepresented. I'd like to see 2. I think that industry/public seat should be an industry, and they have another public seat. I believe it's public health, public safety, 2 industry, and a rural maybe. I can't remember for marijuana, but I think that the balance of the board is important here. It's not so much about Ms. Stiver, but it's about the balance of the board. I support an industry person in that seat.
Thank you, Representative Wool. Is there further discussion? Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam President. This is about the individual. I mean, how can you say it's not about the individual? Because we have an individual who's been put up for this seat. I actually supported the person who was in this seat prior to that because it was an industry seat. And I think he did a great job as we brought it forward. But at some point, that's why it's an industry. It went from an industry to now a public seat. But I guess I just want to put some facts here. First of all, in the initiative, it allowed for municipalities to decide whether or not they wanted to have certain rules in their own. Ms. Stiver was sought out by others because she had done other initiatives on how to do and ask for help. It wasn't just the city of Fairbanks, but the city of Fairbanks, the borough of Fairbanks North Star Borough, and the city of North Pole all had initiatives within a year of each other. The city of North Pole actually passed theirs. They do not allow commercialization within the city of North Pole. Hard to believe that we're Christmas town. The borough, it failed. It failed in the city. But individuals got to vote. And wouldn't you want somebody who's going to be on this seat to say, hey, the initiative allows each individual municipality to make that decision. We're going to give you that opportunity. And she gave that opportunity to those in it. Was that wrong? I don't think so. But here's what she's done since then. Because I'm really tired of the fight of she's not an industry person. So what? She has now gone and talked to anybody who will talk to her about the industry. She went to Anchorage and she met with a group asking, how can I learn more about what's going on? because I want to be a voice of the public. I am not industry, but I also want to learn more about it. There were classes that she took to learn things about the industry that only usually those in the industry do. I think that's pretty cool. She's been to Fairbanks, she's been to the shop, she's been to growers. She's trying to learn exactly what is out there, while at the same time listening to those who are not part of the industry. That's what you're supposed to do. This is one person. What is everybody scared of that one person's going to be able to do? Vote 5 times? I don't think you can do that. But it just seems all the emails I've got, and I support those who are in the industry and who are doing the things they need to do. But to just say this is not the right person because they don't belong to the industry is not what the initiative called for. I guess I want to know why you don't want to have the voice of a normal person on there. Don't you want more people to learn exactly what the good things the industry is trying to do? Because that's the voice that you bring here. But just to think that somebody who's not in the industry, who put forth an initiative that is also called in the original initiative and use that against the person just doesn't make sense to me. Could there have been other choices? Absolutely. But I think actually what this does, it can actually elevate the industry to a whole nother level that you don't get, kind of like here when we're on an island and we don't see anybody else for like 90 days. I'm not scared when people come into this building with other points of view. I actually get much smarter when they come in here and they challenge why I voted a certain way or why I believe a certain way. And that's what this brings. I just have to end at this, Madam President. I actually asked her to withdraw because I didn't want her feelings to get hurt because I didn't know whether we were ready for change. And I am so proud of her that she didn't do it and she didn't listen to me because we needed to have this discussion. If we wanted to be a seat for industry, then we ought to bring it back here and we ought to change it. Just so you know, I haven't seen a bill that does that. It still says that this is so that anyone who wants to participate can. The question here today, are we just going to use it against her that she's not industry? Are we going to say having that elevated discussion is what we're long overdue and say, is this a person who will listen to what's going on and not use against her that she's not? I am full support. I am proud that she's going forward, and I sure hope she's not disappointed.
Thank you, Representative Wilson. Is there further discussion? Seeing none. The question before the joint session. There's been a call placed on the House. We're all present. Thank you. So, the question before the joint session is, shall the appointment of Vivian Stiver to the Marijuana Control Board be confirmed?
House members may proceed to vote. Will the clerk please lock the roll? Does any member wish to change his or her vote? Will the clerk please announce the vote?
16 yeas, 23 nays.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll of the Senate.
Senator Coghill.
Yes.
Coghill, yay. Senator Costello.
Yes.
Costello, yay. Senator Gray Jackson. Gray Jackson, nay. Senator Hoffman. Hoffman, yay. Senator Hughes.
Yes.
Hughes, yay. Senator Kawasaki.
No.
Kawasaki, nay. Senator Keel.
No.
Keel, nay. Senator Machicki.
No.
Machicki, nay. Senator Olson.
Yes.
Olson, yay. Senator Reinbold.
Yes.
Reinbold, yay. Senator Shower.
Yes.
Shower, yay. Senator Stedman.
Yes.
Stedman, yay. Senator Stevens.
Yes.
Stevens, yay. Senator Von Imhoff.
Yes.
Von Imhoff, yay. Senator Wielkowski.
No.
Wielkowski, nay. Senator Wilson.
Yes.
Wilson, yay. Senator Begich.
No.
Begich, nay. Senator Birch.
Yes.
Birch, yay. Senator Bishop.
Yes.
Bishop, yay. Senator Giesel.
Yes.
Giesel, yay.
Have all senators voted? Do any senators wish to change their vote? Will the Secretary record and tally the vote?
14 yeas, 6 nays.
Will the Secretary tally the total combined vote?
30 yeas, 29 nays.
So with a vote of 30 yeas and 29 nays, Vivian Stiver has been confirmed to the marijuana.
It's failed. She needs 31. Has failed.
She needs 31.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I will correct my statement. Thank you, Madam Majority Leader. So with a vote of 30 yeas and 29 nays, Vivian Stiver has not been confirmed to the Marijuana Control Board. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam President, I move the nominee of John Sturgeon for the Alaska Mental Health Trust Board of Trustees to be confirmed.
Is there objection? I'm sorry, did you say something, Representative Gustafson?
Yes, there is an objection.
Would you like to speak to your objection?
I will very briefly. Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, there is a tradition that the Mental Health Trust designate or strongly recommend this individual to their board, and I think that we should continue that tradition.